record in the matter of the state of Michigan versus Octavia Grant, 231077. And Detective Sergeant Grote, if you can.
Oh, yes, this young lady is up to no good. She's been caught trying to cash a check that wasn't hers. This isn't her first rodeo, which you'll see very soon.
Please state your name for the record.
Detective Sergeant Ken Grote.
All right, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. You may proceed on the warrant.
I'm signing this on information and belief for Detective Sabo. May 15, 2023 at approximately 12:55 hours, Wyandotte officers were dispatched to the First Merchant Bank located at 2517 4th Street in the city of Wyandotte for a female in the process of uttering and publishing, passing a bogus check for the amount of $965.11. Officers arrived as the defendant Grant was walking out of the branch office, Officer Grant walked in the branch office and went to the teller providing a bogus check with her Michigan ID card. Grant said that it wasn't a payroll check, but it was actually a refund check for rocks that she ordered. The legitimate company displayed on the bogus check is Hutch Paving Incorporated out of the city of Warren. The printed check was made out to Ms. Grant, but had an incorrect address on it compared to her actual address in Woods. To Ms. Grant, the bank had already alerted by another branch office that this bogus check from Hutch Paving Incorporated and be on the lookout for fraudulent activity. The tailor delayed Ms. Grant, but then she left the bank without the check or her Michigan photo ID card, and subsequently was contacted and arrested by the Wyandotte police just a few businesses away from the crime scene. And so Ms. Grant is also responsible for the identity theft due to Hutch Paving Incorporated owner Michael Campbell not giving permission to steal or use his personal or business identification.
All right, upon examination, complaining witness was probable cause to believe that the charges were committed, and the offense charges were committed, there's probable cause to believe the defendant committed those offenses. And good afternoon, counsel.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Christopher Shemke, appearing on behalf of my client. At this time, we consent to the matter being heard via Zoom.
All right, and Ms. Grant, your name, please.
Your name.
Octavia Grant.
All right, thank you. And counsel, as to the arraignment.
As the arraignment, we waive formal reading. My client stands mute.
All right, thank you. And the court will waive the formal reading. And ma'am, you have the right to have an attorney. If you cannot afford one, the court will appoint one to represent you. And in fact, you've had an opportunity to speak to an attorney today in a breakout room, correct?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
All right. You have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to have a trial by a judge or by a jury. You also have the right to remain silent. Anything you say orally or in writing may be used against you in court. Do you understand those rights, ma'am?
Yes.
The court's going to enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. Schedule this matter for probable cause conference May 25th at 9:20 a.m. And counsel as to bond, and then I'll give Detective Sergeant Grote an opportunity to address bond.
Your Honor, my client is 25 years old. Right now, she's living with her sister, and she's a single mother of 2 children, ages 5 and 5 months. She's not employed right now. She is trying to coordinate employment as well as taking care of her children without transportation. Judge, she assures this honorable court she will appear at any and all future court dates and would respectfully request leniency when determining the appropriate bond. Thank you, Judge.
Okay. And so, Ms. Grant.
Yes.
How do you provide for your children and yourself if you're not working?
I get an SSI check once a month.
Okay, and is that, what's the basis for that? Is that from a disability? That's not a disability, is it?
I have sickle cell.
Okay. And that prevents you from working?
It does. Certain conditions I cannot work under because of the sickle cell. I can't be too hot. I can't be too cold. It's a lot of different components that will make my sickle cell act up. And I've had multiple surgeries because of it.
Okay, and I can understand that, ma'am. And so you are Are you currently on probation or parole anywhere, ma'am?
I'm sorry?
Are you currently on probation or parole anywhere?
No.
Are you out on bond in any other jurisdiction?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and what are you out on bond for?
Resisting arrest.
And what jurisdiction is that out of?
Detroit.
And so you're out on bond, and now it's alleged that you've committed another felony.
Yes, ma'am.
And so who has your children right now, ma'am?
Right now, they're separated. My oldest sister has my oldest daughter, so she can go back to school, go back and forth to school. And right now, my baby father, his sister has my youngest.
Do you know anybody at Hutch Paving Incorporated?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Do you know Michael Campbell?
No, ma'am.
All right, Detective Sergeant Grove?
Your Honor, the seriousness of this crime, and then she's also a suspect that's being investigated in Oakland County for 2 other of the same crime. We're gonna ask for 15,000 cash.
All right. Well, given the fact that Ms. Grant is currently on bond, it was recently placed on bond just 1 month ago. Given the fact that Ms. Grant is currently under investigation for other offenses, and given the nature of the charges and the potential penalty, the court's going to indicate a $15,000 cash bond with the following bond conditions. You're not to have any contact with First Merchant Bank or its employees, or Hutch Paving Incorporated or employees, or Michael Campbell. That's phone contact, text message, email, social media, third party, anything of the like. You also are not to enter the premises at First Merchant Bank branches, whichever branch it may be, nor Hutch Paving Incorporated. You're not to possess or consume any alcohol or drugs unless prescribed. And in the event you post bond, you are to have a GPS tether, house arrest, all right, anything else?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, the court will see you next week. Okay, you already spoke to Mr. Stanley, correct, Mr. Serrano?
Yes, I have.
Okay, all right, we are on the record in the matters of the city of Wyandotte versus Daryl Stanley, 231-685. And
Oh, yeah, this guy. Not only has he been arrested twice in 1 week for the exact same charge, he's also about to face eviction following his arraignment. Enjoy.
the city of Wyandotte versus Daryl Stanley, 231-677. And counsel, your appearance, please.
Your Honor, Richard T. Serrano, P33828, appearing on behalf of Mr. Stanley on all matters regarding MIDC counsel for arraignment purposes only. We
Thank you,
appear by
Mr.
Zoom.
Stanley, your name, please.
Daryl Stanley?
Okay, and so counsel as to the arraignment.
Your Honor, waive formal reading, stand mute.
Or waive the formal reading, enter plea of not guilty on your behalf on both matters. And
Well,
just
Your
for
Honor,
clarification, 231-685 is date of offense is July 7th of 23, and 231-677 date of offense is July 5th of 2023. All right, and counsel as to bond.
Your Honor, I understand my client was out on a personal bond on the earlier case, and then is alleged that he engaged in conduct similar to that which he was originally charged. Your Honor, we've discussed the matter at length. He wants to get into some programs. He's been looking into getting into Lighthouse. Your Honor, he is has alcohol convictions in the past. He is he tells me he's currently not having any cases pending other than what we have here, the 2 cases here, and he's working full time at the car wash. Your Honor, we would hope that the court would give him another chance, give him a personal bond, perhaps put a tether on him. But Your Honor, he will show up in court. He's told me this time. He is presently not on probation and parole, as I mentioned, and we would hope the court would take that into discretion.
Okay, so this shows operating while impaired 2018,
Yes.
2020, June of 2023. Serving the peace with no late process, disorderly person was pled guilty. And so, Mr. Stanley, your sentence on that was 15 days jail?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, so then when were you released?
The 11th, and
You were released June 11th?
yes,
So you just pled guilty and were sentenced, or you were just sentenced at least. It appears on June 20th. And you were sentenced to 15 days jail. Was that credit for time served, or did you have to serve an additional 15 days?
I served 15 days and got time served and was released.
So how many days did you actually serve of that 15?
15, it was from the 5th to the 20th, it was from the 5th to the 20th. I had the date wrong, I'm sorry.
And other than July 5th, which was the first arrest in this jurisdiction, in these 2 matters, did you have any other contacts
No.
with police agencies from the time you were released on June 20th to July 5th?
No, Your Honor.
And sir, if you were to be tested today, what would be detected in your system?
No drugs, Your Honor.
I didn't ask that. I said, what would be detected in your system, not what wouldn't be detected in your system?
Nothing would be detected in my system except for alcohol, a little alcohol maybe from before.
Sir, where do you work?
I work at a Pro Shine Express car wash in Southgate.
And how do you get back and forth to work? Because you don't have a valid license, do you?
No, I've been Ubering or walking. Well,
All the way from Taylor?
yeah, it's like 3 miles. No, not from Wyandotte, not from Taylor, Wyandotte.
Do you know your address, sir, or no?
Yes,
Okay, well, you didn't complete it on the paperwork.
yeah, I'm trying to move out from there to Lighthouse in Plymouth.
Would it be the apartment number 4 address?
The address is 2210 apartment.
I'm looking at the other case, so I just want to make sure that's your current address.
Yes,
Okay. And how long have you been at that address?
2 years.
So then why have you not changed your address with the Secretary of State? They still have your Taylor address.
I haven't gotten my license back. I guess I was gonna update that when I got my license, which I'm currently
Sure.
trying to get.
Well, I don't believe this is the way to do that. And then it's alleged that not only were you, you had been released from the police department, and then it's alleged you went right back, right out and did the same thing.
Yes, Your Honor.
So here's the court's going to do, on 231677, the court's going to indicate a $5,000 10% bond. In the event you post bond, you're not to be released without an alcohol tether through the Wayne County Jail. And to possess and consume alcohol or drugs unless prescribed. Then on 231685, the court's going to indicate a $7,500 10% bond. Same conditions, alcohol tether through the Wayne County Jail. And not to possess and consume alcohol or drugs unless prescribed. Anything else, counsel?
Your Honor.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right,
Your Honor.
thank you. Okay, yes, sir?
Could I ask, conditions of bond, I have $200 if I can post for bond and then I can keep my job, if you would be willing to accept that, please, Your Honor?
Sir, you had that opportunity previously. When you were released on Wednesday, I believe, and you were rearrested for the same offense. So if you have some monetary stake in the game, perhaps you will make sure that you are complying with this court's orders. Furthermore, you're not going to be released without an alcohol tether through the Wayne County Jail. So, and that may be a couple of days before you get that put on, so I don't know. You may want to have some communication with your employer, but that's where we're at for that. All right, anything else?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Good weekend.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, have a good day. We're gonna be on the record, or we're gonna be off the record, but Joe, can you zoom in? Can you message Joe to have him zoom back in, please, for his landlord? Okay, and so we are going on the record in the matter of Kimberly Stanley versus Daryl Stanley, 231228. And appearance, counsel? Mr. West?
Oh, yes. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Roger West appearing on behalf of the plaintiff, Ms. Kimberly Stanley, on P4-1391.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Stanley, your name, please, for the record.
Daryl Stanley.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Stanley, if you can please unmute.
Okay,
Okay, your name for the record, please.
Kimberly Stanley.
All right, thank you. And today's date scheduled for the second hearing. There was a miscommunication from the court. You had the wrong Zoom ID, and so we adjourned it to today. And so, counsel, you've been able to speak with everybody in the breakout room, and so what's going on?
Yes, Your Honor. I was able to speak to my client and Mr. Stanley in the breakout room, and they have agreed that Mr. Stanley would vacate the property by July 17th, 2023 by 12 o'clock at midnight. I did explain to Mr. Stanley the provisions of Court Rule 4.201. Which I'm glad Your Honor had the other attorney before, because I don't usually do those immediately. I'm always on the tenant side, normally 80-something% of the time. So, but I did explain to him that this court wouldn't enter this order until 3 business days after this date, and that he would have 3 days, since he's not represented by an attorney, to, if he decides he doesn't want to stick by the consent judgment, he has those 3 days to file objections to it. And he did understand that.
Okay, so here's kind of a logistical issue, counsel. I know you were on Zoom earlier when I conducted the arraignment for Mr. Stanley. And so if he doesn't post bond, then he's going to be in custody until his next court date, which is July 18th, is his pretrial date. So
I did explain to him that the court could then make a decision on how many days to give him, but the court would not give him beyond the 17th anyway. So if a judgment was entered by this court, because we did serve him with a notice to quit on April the 6th of this year. And so he has been properly served, and he really has no defenses in this matter, Your Honor. So if Your Honor would entertain it, we would just simply like a judgment that he vacate the property by the 17th of July. He's indicated that he's been trying to, if he is out, he'll have a roommate to go to, or try Lighthouse. So he would have some alternate places.
and I can understand that, but I don't know how I can enter a judgment that gives the date for him to relocate during a time period by which he may still be in custody.
I will still be.
I'm sorry, what's that, Mr. Stanley?
I will still be in custody, Your Honor. So that date, I wouldn't be able to vacate by that date because I will still be in custody.
Now, what is the date he used to be released? The 18th?
He has a pretrial date on the 18th of July.
Okay. So we don't know. He may still be in custody after the 18th of July. So then so my preference is just simply hear testimony from both parties and take proofs, and the court enter a ruling.
Well, I don't think the issue is really what date should be listed as the writ date, right? I don't think that.
That's true.
So.
But
I'm just thinking as a point of equity or even logistics, if he is still in custody, then he cannot possibly remove his items from the home.
Maybe Ms. Stanley, 'cause I don't think he has anything other than personal clothing and things like that.
Okay, but those are still items of his that would have to be removed.
Yes, I imagine my client could store those items if they're just clothing. They can be boxed up. Is that correct, Ms. Stanley?
Yeah, I can store them somewhere. I can store them in the basement of the apartment. I can store them in the basement.
So counsel, what if we do this? What if we adjourn this to July 18th? And we can throw it on the same date and time as his pretrial, and then we can see what's going on with that to see if there's a resolution, if there's an amendment of bond, see if he has his tether on, and then we can determine the date from there.
Yeah, the only thing about that is that then he's could possibly be back at my client's place. He's had issues with my client. He's been belligerent behavior in the past. cause problems to my client with other tenants in the building as well, and that's another concern. But my basic point is that I don't think there's any question that my client has a right to possession, and I don't believe that the court has authority to give him more than the 10 days anyway. And so, sorry that he's going through these things with his personal life, but this has impacted my client immensely over the few months that have gone by already. And
Well, and counsel, I don't disagree that this has potentially impacted your client immensely. I can't imagine that Mr. Stanley's the first tenant that's been in jail during these proceedings, these types of proceedings. And however, because he's in the Wyandotte jail, which is just through the door here, and this matter is here in the 22nd District Court. Here's what I'm going to do, counsel.
Your Honor. And counsel, sorry. Your Honor, the counsel said that I had negatively impacted her. I won't be there, so I won't be negatively impacting her. So to give me that time in order to handle what I have to handle with the court and then claim my stuff after that, because I won't be negatively impacting her anymore because I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be incarcerated still, so it won't be affecting her at all.
Sir, other than personal belongings, do you have any furniture items, anything else?
Yeah, just some small things. I have TVs, entertainment center, and just in clothes.
Okay, so counsel, let's do this. Do you have any objection to this court indicating a writ date of July 21st? And then both you and your client can zoom back in on the 18th so we can see what the status is of the case to determine whether or not your client is going to have an amended bond or not. Because if he is getting an amended bond, or if there's a resolution or whatnot, then he would still be in custody awaiting the alcohol tether. So in any of those scenarios, your client won't have Mr. Stanley at the home. And two, that would give him a couple of days after his court date to arrange for assistance in removing the items. So we wouldn't adjourn this until after until the 18th and then do an additional 10 days for a writ. I'm indicating if we indicate the writ's July 21st.
that may work, Your Honor.
Okay, do you need a moment to go in a breakout room with your client again?
Yeah, unless she's able to indicate whether that's okay now.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. All right, so writ July 21st. And then counsel, if you would like to zoom back in on the 18th, that way we can see, so I'm going to indicate here that, I think I set it for 9:45, I think. Okay. All right, and so Mr. Stanley, you understand everything that's happening?
Yes, Your Honor.
You also understand that you do have the right to have legal representation, not criminal legal representation in this matter, but that would be an attorney at your own expense or perhaps low cost or no cost. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you also, and you also had the opportunity to communicate with attorneys prior to your arrest on a separate matter early this morning, correct?
The
You were
criminal
served,
attorney?
sir, you were served with a notice to quit back in April, and you have not obtained legal representation between April and now, correct?
Correct.
Even though you have that right and you have the opportunity.
Correct.
Okay. And you want to continue with representing yourself, is that correct?
For right now, correct. I may seek some legal advice once, after I handle my court matters, I might try to obtain some legal advice, but currently I do not have an attorney, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, and you understand what Mr. West indicated to you regarding the court rule, regarding your right to revisit this in 3 business days, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And July 18th is at 10:30, Mr. West, okay?
Yes, Your Honor, 10:30.
Yes, okay. And
that's on his other matters that I can find out what's happening with those, correct?
correct,
And so my client doesn't have to appear at that.
correct,
Thank you, Your Honor.
okay.
Now, Your Honor, do I need to submit anything regarding that to you?
Regarding zooming in?
No, regarding the writ issuing on the 21st and anything like that.
Well, I'm going to go over all that in just one moment. I just wanted to make sure that Mr. Stanley understood all of his rights.
Okay.
All right, and so Mr. Stanley, you understand the terms as Mr. West stated, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the court then is going to indicate that by consent, plaintiff has a right to recover possession of the property. If defendant does not move out on or before July 21st, plaintiff may apply for an order evicting the defendant. Additional money may be owed if damage to property occurs. And there will be no money judgment. And anything else, counsel?
That sounds like enough, Your Honor. That's sufficient.
Okay, the court will sign that upon receipt. I don't know if you want, I don't think you'll be able to get Mr. Stanley's signature, so I don't know if you want to place something on the record regarding any permission to sign.
Sure. So Mr. Stanley, given that you're now incarcerated, would you have any objections to my signing that document for you? Would you consent to my signing your document, this consent judgment, the returns of which would be that you would move out by July 21st, 2023, that no money judgment is entered this time, and that you'd be liable if there's any damage on the property, but you obviously won't be the property, so I don't see that that be an issue. But would you consent to my signing for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so you will need to send that to Mr. Stanley. I believe that would be done at the Wayne County Jail. You have to send it to him.
Wayne
Perhaps.
County Jail?
Just so he has a copy of the judgment. So if he wants to exercise his right to appeal within the 10 days, he certainly can as well.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
would send that to the Wayne County. You have to find out what the I guess the mailing protocol for Wayne County Jail is.
Yes.
It's interesting because unfortunately I have a nephew that's in Cook County Jail right now awaiting stuff and had to deal with that stuff. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so, I'm pretty sure that Mr. Stanley would be at Division 1, but there's always a Wayne County Jail inmate lookup you can do as well to confirm that.
I'll do that, Your Honor.
All right,
Yeah.
and so, Ms. Stanley, do you understand everything that's happening? I know your attorney's here, but I just want you to understand that in council, given the unique situation that I know that Mr. Stanley's in the Wyandotte jail, and this matter is here before the court, that, because he would still be in custody, I find that it's not, appropriate to enter a writ the date before his court date, and so that's why.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, and I understand that you're going to be keeping his items, but he also says he has some furniture items, so I don't know where those are
Yeah.
going to go, and ultimately, right, there's a writ, if there's a writ entered, then that writ speaks for itself, and the items can go wherever, but I also want to make sure that because he's in custody on criminal matters, that everything's I guess, as smooth as possible, given those different logistical hurdles.
Your Honor,
Right.
there's one other question, and that is, I'm assuming that he will be transferred to the Wayne County Jail today or before the weekend.
Today.
Okay, all right, so yeah, I'll get that done.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Your
Thank
Honor.
you.
Yep.